What up, cappers, gamblers, punters, hustlers, low baggers? Welcome to the nightly bag right here on Pub Sports Radio. It was as these days have been in the second half of the season, just a roller coaster ride. Started off very, very well, and then it started slipping, and it was slipping heavy, very heavy until we got the Tigers. Live action's gone very well, thankfully, but unfortunately, we are sitting here, I don't know, 5-5. Look, I didn't sign up for mediocrity, and we're going to lose a little bit of vig. So not what I want. We have the CFL game going on right now as well. I've moved live on a couple spots, the under 62.5, which does not look good. And I've moved on the Elks plus 8.5 live. That's the only game going on right now in North American sports is a football game up north. I'm pumped up, though. Thank you guys for joining us here. Top set in the house, Light Cheese, Dougie Wise, Sharpie. Great to see you guys. We got Swiggy on the ones and twos. And let's go ahead and attack this card. We're only capping MLB here on the show today. If you're looking for any Canadian football, that is on the Thursday morning bag and the Wednesday night bag show. Mark Sosowski in the house. Great to see all of you guys. Great job, Dougie Wise, on the free bands play of the day. Blue Jays minus 106. Hino ball ready to work. Let's attack this big, beautiful card. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We start at 4:10 p.m. Eastern with the Colorado Rockies, 41-63, 17-34 on the road at the Milwaukee Brewers, 64-38, 34-19 at home. We're at American Family Field in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Let's get right into the park expectations in American Family Field for Friday, July 24th. Minus 2% runs, plus 10% homers, minus 7% doubles and triples, and minus 9% singles. We have Tomoyuki Sugano on the mound, and you guys know that I thought that signing by the Rockies for $5.1 million was a shrewd decision here. I thought it was a good decision to sign him, and he's been good. 9-4, 4.76 ERA, 1.29 WHIP. Now it's got a 6.94 expected ERA. That's pretty ugly, but he's done a good job of limiting damage. And he's another one of those pitchers who gets a lot of ground balls. We had Spooner discussing in the chat why the expected ERA negatively affects these pitchers, and he doesn't get strikeouts. So 51 strikeouts in 90 innings is not what you are looking for in a starting pitcher. At least some teams aren't looking for. But I don't mind Tomoyuki Sugano. Sugano went on the IL after his start Friday, June 26th. It was a pretty good start. It was a quality start at home versus the Reds. And it was back spasms. So he went, and he wasn't on. So he went, his last start was June 26th. They didn't put him on the injured list till July 4th. He missed his next start, and then they put him on the IL. Then he came back July 18th after the All-Star break. So he had a nice amount of time off. And for Japanese pitchers, even though this is the second year in America that aren't used to the North American schedule, it's probably pretty nice that he had the break. So he came back Saturday, July 18th, went 6 1/3, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, 2 homers, 3 Ks, no walks in 10-3 win at home versus the Reds. We're going up against the mighty Shane Johan, a very dangerous lefty, 5-3, 3.20 ERA, 1.18 WHIP. It's got a 3.30 expected ERA. This kid's a good pitcher. 5th round pick in the 2020 draft by the Red Sox out of Florida State. He looked strong in a cup of coffee in AAA, and then he came right up to the show. He did start the season a little bit late with an injury. He didn't get to the show until Monday, May 18th, and he's looked very good. He has now, we are sitting here on 3 straight quality starts. His last start, 6 innings, 3 runs, an 8-6 win at home versus the Marlins. It was extremely impressive. He's just a really good pitcher. He's a really good pitcher. If you go through these last 2 starts, he's gone 12 1/3. He's struck out 15. He's walked 1. Now he's allowed 3 earned runs in each, but we're going into the 7th inning in each of these starts. When we get to the bullpens here, the Brewers bullpen 3.62 ERA, 1.23 WHIP. The Rockies bullpen, these are last 30 days numbers, 4.40 ERA, 1.43 WHIP. Rockies bullpen has improved. The Brewers bullpen has been professional all season long. Brewers versus righties, 258, 764 OPS. They hit them hard. And the Rockies versus lefties, 262, 759 OPS. Now they hit them hard, but again, it's almost steroid-induced numbers because half the time you're hitting in the thin air in Colorado, which is not where they are today. Friday. Let's get into the line history here. We've seen 5 cents of movement towards the Milwaukee Brewers. There was 10 cents of movement. It just got to minus 240. Then it came back 5 cents to minus 235. So we have 5 cents of movement towards Johan. From a total standpoint here, we're sitting at an 8.5. There's been a 5 cent move towards the over. Let's take a look at the price difference, and if Penny has any information here, let's talk about the price difference. Here we have minus 233 at Penny for the full game. First 5 minus 221. So the Rockies are plus 205 full game. And then first 5, they're plus 182. It's a pretty big difference. And I think part of it is that, the bullpen advantage for the Brewers, but and I guess you want to cut the game down when you go up against a mighty foe like the Brewers. But it's a pretty big difference. The plus a half for the Rockies right now is plus 123, first 5. And the first 5 plus 1 for the Rockies is minus 107. See if we got any cash flow information here for our first game on the board. And we have cash information on every game. And again, this is early cash information. We don't want to put too much into it, but information is information. 88% of tickets, 90% of cash is on the Milwaukee Brewers. That's not a surprise. I think that you could imagine that the Brewers' money line will be on a lot of rec parlay tickets to get the day started. And then 83% of tickets on the over and 93% of cash on the over. A lot of money here on the over. Shout out to Josh Witt. We got Rod Zwacky, Wager Detective, all joining us. Rod Zwacky says, bet under the total in Colorado road games after getting shut out. The unders record since 2025, 11-2. Says, bet under the total in Colorado games as an underdog of plus 200 or more. On this record during the 2026 season, 15-4. So some very nice trends for the under. I wonder if that first 5 plus 1 is an option. I mean, you can also ask yourself, are you able to get 9 outs from Tomoyuki Sagano? Because if you're able to get 9 outs from Tomoyuki Sagano, that puts the first 3 plus a half in play. Let's see what that first 3 is here, plus a half. We'll also see what that first 3 under is. If we're dealing, let me see what it is full game. If we're dealing with a 8.5 minus 115 to the under, then it should be, a 2.5 minus 125 to the over and minus 115 to the under. And it is not quite. It's even heavier to the over, minus 135 to the over 2.5. That's interesting. Sort of a hand tipping that it's the starting pitchers who are deemed a little bit more vulnerable than the relief corps. Let's take a look at what that first 3 plus a half would be for the Colorado Rockies. Minus 115. That's a pretty good price. That's a pretty good price. I wonder if that's where I should end up here on this one. First 3 plus a half at minus 115 for the Rockies. I would deem that more appealing than the first 5 plus 1. I think you just want to cut the game down as short as possible. Now, the question you have to ask yourself, am I trying too hard to find action? Am I trying too hard to find an angle? That's the question that I need to ask myself. So at this point here, I find this interesting. Rockies first 3 plus a half. I find that appealing. I find the angles here from Rod Zwacky on the unders also extremely interesting. So I'll copy and paste those angles. And I will look closer in the under because I'm a Sugano believer, and I think being off with a non-arm related injury could help him. So that's where we stand right now for game 1 here on the board. Let me just copy and paste. I'm a copying and pasting wizard these days. Let's get the under the total. We have another angle there for Rod Zwacky on backing the Colorado Rockies, which I do have some interest in. Free bands play is the day for the Friday card. And yes, Stacks, Corbin Carroll over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs was a catcher. I watched the triple. And I was pumped up for our guy, Justin McKelvey. Great work, Justin. Okay, so let's roll on. But I don't want the Brewers at this price. I just think it's too expensive. Now, maybe they roll right over the Rockies, but I just think it is too expensive. And that first 3 plus a half, I do find appealing. Let's roll on. Next spot on the board, 6:40 p.m. Eastern. This is my only MLB bets that I've already locked in. Chicago Cubs at Pittsburgh Pirates. We're at PNC Park in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I hope we still have Sharpie in the chat because these are pitchers that are very interested in his takes on Jared Jones. And, of course, Matthew Boyd on the other hand. We're in PNC Park in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Let's get right into the weather at PNC Park. We have a minus 5% runs at PNC Park tomorrow, minus 20% homers, plus 7% doubles and triples, and we're even for singles. We have Matthew Boyd on the hill, 6-1, 4.15 ERA, 4.72 expected ERA, 1.21 WHIP. He's had two separate stays on the IL. The first one was for a left bicep strain, and he was only on there for about 21 days. The second one was much longer. It was about 50 days, and he missed several weeks. It was a meniscus injury in his left knee. During his rehab assignments, he had to be shut down again because he developed some shoulder soreness. So he came back June 25th, had a nice start at the Mets, didn't allow a run. He's been pretty quality since he's come back. Now we're talking about 5 starts. The last 3 he's gone 6 innings. The last 3 have all been quality starts. Hey, look, I've had a great interest in Boyd since he was drafted by the Jays long ago. And if you guys remember, he was part of the David Price deal in that playoff run in 2016. And that's when he went over to the Tigers, and the Jays got Price. I've been always keeping a close eye on him. So I like Boyd. And the fact that I'm on the Pirates' first 5 in full game is not me fading Matthew Boyd. It's me backing Jared Jones. That's what it is. I'm believing in what we're seeing from Jared Jones right now. Top set looking to take the first 3 under and the first 5 under here. Sharpie says Jones is becoming the guy we expected. He needed time to figure out his added velocity and is capped at 75 pitches, normally followed by Majinski. Dougie Wise leaning Pirates, but the dog of the day for Rod Zawacki here is the Chicago Cubs. I have doubled up on the Pirates, but I will copy and paste the dog of the day from our guy Rod Zawacki. So let's talk about Jared Jones. So, of course, he underwent UCL surgery last May. He had 5 rehab starts when he came back all this May. So he's out for 12 months. And he looked excellent. So there was a lot of excitement around him getting back to the show. And when he got to the show, it was underwhelming, very underwhelming. Like Sharpie said, it just wasn't all coming together. It took him a while. And now I feel like it has come together. The last 2 starts at home versus the Braves and at the Guardians, and we know what the Guardians have been doing lately. At home against the Braves, he goes 6 innings, doesn't allow a hit, doesn't walk a batter. It's perfect. And they pull him, and they lose versus the Braves. Then July 18th at the Guardians with the way they've been hitting, this was pretty impressive. 5 innings, 1 earned run. He struck out 9 and walked 1. In his last 2 starts, he struck out 17 and he's walked 1. In the 11 innings, he's allowed 3 hits. 3 hits. Now, Rod Zawacki says Jared Jones was 0 wins at home. Well, he was perfect through 6 innings, and there was only 6 innings in his last start at home. I believe he's turned the corner. Bullpen-wise, Pirates bullpen is better than the Cubs bullpen. 4.31 ERA, 1.40 WHIP over the last 30 days. Cubs bullpen, 4.81 ERA, 1.49 WHIP. Now, maybe better is a little much. Pitching better over the last 30 days, but why don't I leave it at that? And then when we come to the sticks, the Pirates rake lefties. They rake lefties. 268, 798 OPS. Cubs are spreadies, 239, 765 OPS. And Rod Zawacki has another point, 9 starts with just 1 quality start for Jones. It's hard to throw quality starts when you're capped at 75 pitches. In fact, it's almost impossible. So although those are very legitimate stats that Rod's dropping and important for our capping, it doesn't affect me at all. It doesn't affect me at all or my confidence level on the Pittsburgh Pirates here in this spot. Sharpie says if you're backing Jones, his first 5 is he only goes 75 pitches. We'll finish better if he can go 78. Then they follow him with another starter, Majinski. They piggyback the game almost in all of Jones' starts. You know, I like Majinski. I got no problem with him. But I believe that Jared Jones has turned the corner. And, you're not going to get quality starts when you're capped at 75 pitches. You're not. The Pirates are not only destroying lefties, they're destroying righties, they're destroying everything. But that 268, 798, 268 average, 798 OPS over the last 30 days is strong. Let's go to line history here in this one. Line history wise, this was a 7.5, slightly juiced to the over. Now it's an 8, slightly juiced to the over. So it's a half run move towards the over. And then on the money line, we have seen a nice move towards the Pittsburgh Pirates. They've gone from minus 110 to minus 120. Now they got up to minus 123. I got in on them at minus 118, but they got up to minus 123 at 8:34 p.m. And just when the show started, there was a 3-cent move back. Maybe they heard that Rod's dog of the day was on the Chicago Cubs. So, there's obviously some concern here. But I think that we have turned the corner with Jerry Jones, and I expect him to deliver. When we get to the cash flow, again, these are early numbers. 60% of the tickets are on the Chicago Cubs and 34% of the cash. 95% of tickets and 87% of cash is on the over. Now, when I moved on the first 5 as well, when I added that, there wasn't a real need to do that. It was minus 119, which it is still at Pinnacle full game, and minus 121 first 5. So Boyd is sitting here at plus 108 full game, but first 5 plus 104. Now, we've heard from our guy Topset that he's interested in that he's very interested here in the unders. I'm not going to do that with this line moving quickly from 7.5 to 8. Topset says, why is this line not minus 150? This line's exactly where it should be, opening up at a pick'em. The Chicago Cubs have a better road record than the Pirates have as a home record. The Chicago Cubs are 12 games over 500. The Pirates are only 3 games over 500. Cubs are 4 games over 500 on the road. The Pirates are 3 games over 500 at home. When you look at the statistical profile of these two pitchers, it's just the expected ERA that gives the benefit of the doubt to Jones. So I thought this would open up at a pick'em. I like the move towards the Pittsburgh Pirates. I would like to see a bigger difference first 5 and full game than we're seeing. Maybe that will come. Let's just take a look at what the first 3 is right now. We can compare it to the game. I guess we can't really because this is an 8. So this should probably be like a minus 120. If they believe in these two pitchers, it should be a minus 125 to the under and a minus 115 to the over on the first 3. And we have exactly that, minus 125 to the under and minus 115 to the over. Again, though, with it going from 7.5 to 8, I'm not lining up to move on unders, although I don't dislike them at all. So I am on the other side of Rod Zwacky's dog of the day. Dog of the day cashed with Arizona today. 6th straight dog winner for Rod Zwacky. And he's going for number 7 here with the Chicago Cubs. I'm on the other side with the Pittsburgh Pirates. First 5 and full game. Let's roll on. The next spot on the board, 6:40 p.m. Eastern. The Kansas City Royals, 43-60, 17-33 on the road. At the Detroit Tigers, 48-54, 27-23 at home at Comerica Park in Detroit, Michigan. We have weather in Detroit, Michigan at Comerica. We have, let's see what we're dealing with, run-suppressing weather. Minus 8% runs, minus 21% homers, plus 2% doubles and triples, and plus 3% singles. And is that the first time Outman has come up with a big hit for me? Anytime, whether I was when he was on the Dodgers or now with the Tigers, I mean, he's just, look, I finally got something from him. Very, very thankful. We're in Comerica Park here. We have Noah Cameron, the lefty, going up against Tariq Skubal. This is a wonderful pitching matchup. Now, Noah Cameron hasn't filled his side of the bargain. If we got 2025 Noah Cameron, then we would certainly be in position for a pitching duel of the ages. Noah Cameron, 5-8, 5.27 ERA, 5.04 expected ERA. Remember, last year he had 2.99 ERA, 1.10 WHIP over 138 in the third. He's not been that pitcher this year. Now, we talked about Noah Cameron was one of the guys with Singer on the Reds where I thought that he was finding himself. I thought that we could get ahead of the market and start backing him. And I thought I was right. From May 16th through June 7th, he was delivering. We have 4 of those 5 starts, quality starts. He looked really, really good. And then I got cocky, and then he got annihilated. June 18th, June 13th, I guess it started 4 runs over 4 1/3 at home versus Astros. June 18th, 3 runs over 5 innings at home over the Cardinals. June 24th, 5 runs over 5 innings, 5-3 loss at the Rays. June 30th, he went 3 2/3, 6 runs and 10-4 loss at home versus Rays. Then he had one good start. It was fake news, is what it was. He has the good start. It's an anomaly. And he gets lit up in his next 2 starts. Before the All-Star break, 5 earned runs over 7 innings at the Orioles, 7 earned runs in 5 innings at home, and a 19-2 loss on Sunday. It doesn't look good. It does not look good. Yeah, Dougie Wise, that's why we were talking about Outman. He hit that 3-run home run for us. I was saying that's the first time he's had a big hit. It was so important to my night. It was a huge swing. That's why we brought up Outman, of course, because of the 3-run home run tonight. Let's talk about Tariq Skubal here. Sharpie says this is one game I won't even look at Skubal. Could be his last start as a Tiger. Emotions are real. Let's talk about Skubal on the other hand. 6-5, 2.83 ERA, 0.93 whips, got 3.06 expected ERA. And, of course, he had the loose bodies in his elbow. And that's a situation where he'll be out 3.5 months. And he had the nano needle surgery. And he was on the IL for 5.5, 6 weeks. Saturday, June 13th, he came back and he didn't make it through 5 innings. The following start, he got hit for 2 more home runs, 3 more earned runs, and didn't make it through 6 innings. Start after that, 4 earned runs over 6 innings and a 4-2 loss at home versus the Yankees. Then he faced the Yankees in back-to-back starts, faced them again, and he shut them down. And that seemed to get him confident, but he still wasn't going deep in games. July 7th, July 12th, he's only going 5 innings. Then the start after the All-Star break. He gets 6 days off between the All-Star break, and he shoves 7 innings, 5 hits, no earned runs, 9 strikeouts, doesn't walk a batter, and a 7-0 win at the Angels. So we have here a massive bullpen advantage. We saw it in play today. As soon as the Royals went up 2-0, I took the Tigers live plus 1.5, minus 105. It's just, 3.40 ERA, 1.29 whip over the last 30 days. Look at this Royals bullpen. It's an atrocity. Dougie White says Royals might be the literal worst bullpen. They might be the literal worst bullpen. 7.04 ERA, 1.70 whip. Then when we get to lefties, the Royals are actually hitting them. It's the Tigers who aren't. Tigers are hitting lefties with no power whatsoever. 248, 685 OPS. Royals versus lefties, 268, 739 OPS. This is a very expensive proposition here for Skubal. We have Skubal right now minus 280. I mean, this is not cheap. Minus 280. It's up to minus 300 at non-reputable books. Then we have other books where it's minus 231. So, I mean, the books are all over the place trying to... That's Heritage, by the way. That's at minus 231. When we get to the totals in this one, my odds page taking a second. I'll lose my mind if I have to wait for this odds page. I'm going to switch to a different odds page right now. While I'm switching to a different odds page, let's take a look here at what Rod is saying. Rod says, bet under the total and Skubal starts versus an AL team with a slugging percentage of 400 or worse on the season. On his record since the 2025 season is 17-3. Let's see if I can go over to this odds page. This works. And you guys know that I want to know the offshores numbers more than the legal books. The offshores come out much earlier, and it's just always the way I've handled things. And I wonder if this is my computer that's the problem. Okay, here we go. Let me move over here. Okay, so let's take a look at the total for this. Let's see how fast it moves. And we're moving quick now. Okay, beautiful. So from a total scenario, we're sitting at a 7.5 with no movement. Now, it's no movement at Bet Online. I'm looking at other books that have moved drastically, really drastically. This is a 7.5 that opened up at minus 110. But this total for KC Detroit opened up at Bet Online 2 minutes ago. If you want to look at a book that's been around for a minute, is Bookmaker. Bookmaker opened this total at 3:49 p.m. And it opened up minus 120 to the over 7.5. It got up to minus 135, then back down to minus 113, now back up to minus 125. So a ton of movement over at Bookmaker, not as much at these other books. Let's take a look at the cash flow and the price difference, first 5 and full game. When we get to the cash flow for this spot, we only have information on the total, and that's at 88% of the tickets and 92% of cash are on the over. And when we look at the price difference here for full game and first 5 over at Pinnacle, and I don't know if they have opened this game up, and they have not. So this game is not available yet at Pinnacle. So the question you have to ask yourself, and Sharpie has answered him, he's not sure, how long he goes with Scooball here. Now, Noah Cameron, we have people questioning whether Noah Cameron will be the starter in this spot. Top Set says he has someone else. So let's move over to the MLB lineups here at RotoWire and see who they have. And I may have wasted my time. Now, maybe that is an opener situation. Let's find out. Over at RotoWire, do they have Noah Cameron too? So maybe that's the issue. Maybe we're not entirely sure who will be starting for the Royals, or maybe they'll use an opener. So we should wait and see. But I think it's showcase time for Tariq Skubal. And we saw that after the All-Star game. The other part of this is that the Tigers probably want to take great care of their investment, and they probably won't put him in for too long. I'd be shocked if he throws 100 pitches, and that was something that Sharpie was talking about as well. So when it's all said and done at this point, I think we need to know for sure who the Royals pitcher is. And I do think that it's possible to trust Noah Cameron to bounce back. It's possible. A lot of pitchers had a horrible start in their first start after All-Star break. Now, here's a pitcher who also had a horrible start in his first start before All-Star break. So I think we let this all marinate here at this point. Let's roll on. 6:40 p.m. Eastern. Our next spot on the board, we have the New York Yankees, 57-45, 31-22 on the road. At the Philadelphia Phillies, 56-47, 27-25 at home. We're at Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Let's get the ballpark pal and see what they are expecting at Citizens Bank Park. Plus 2% runs, plus 8% homers, minus 2% doubles and triples, and minus 3% singles. And the free bands play of the day is here, and it is the Phillies minus 121. The Phillies minus 121 for Dougie Wise. We have a beautiful pitching matchup here. A Cam Schlittler against the great Jesus Luzardo, two phenomenal young pitchers here. Schlittler 9-6, 2.20 ERA, 3.0 for expected ERA, and a 0.96 WHIP. We saw Schlittler in a pretty tough start for him. Now, he struck out 8 over 4 1/3, but he allowed 6 hits in the 8-2 loss at home versus the Dodgers. It's very conceivable that he can bounce back here. The Phillies really aren't hitting that hard right now. Mally Mal said that he faded Cam last start and came out on top. So Schlittler looked a little bit vulnerable there for a couple starts at the end of June. But then that start on July 6th at the Rays was a thing of absolute beauty. 1 earned run over 8 innings. He followed it up with a 4-2 win at the Nationals. He allowed 2 earned runs over 6 2/3. Then the All-Star break. Then he gets touched up. I think it's fair to assume that he's going to have a much better start than the one he just had versus the Dodgers. Sharpie says, we know this guy takes bad games to heart and doesn't like to have back-to-back bad games because of all this BS regression talk. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Let's talk about Luzardo. 9-4, 3.43 ERA, 2.90 expected ERA, and 1.21 WHIP. Shout out to AM. Great to see you, man. He has been very good this year. Very, very good. And, of course, he got the opportunity to pitch in the All-Star game because of it. He came out of the All-Star game on July 18th and pitched well. 5 innings, 1 earned run. It was a solo shot, 7 Ks, 2 walks, and a 6-1 win at home versus the Mets. So now he's the consecutive home starts. The start before the All-Star break, he was spectacular too. 7 innings, no earned runs, 11 strikeouts, and 2 walks, and a 1-0 win at the Reds. If you look at his last, 5 starts, we can keep going back. This guy has not allowed more than 2 earned runs, and he's only had 1 start where he allowed more than 1 earned run since June 10th. I mean, we're talking about, I guess I can't count the All-Star game. Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're talking about 7 starts here. He's pitching very, very well. Now, Big Drip says, why am I seeing Warren as the starter? Let's go over here. I don't know. I did see a couple sites that said Warren, but the main sites say Schlittler. So, here, let's see what the books have. I mean, there's just no way that, because there was a line move towards the Yankees. And yeah, Will Warren's listed in the books. I thought that line move was because it was Schlittler, but yeah, we have Warren listed at the books here. Very, very interesting. Shout out to Maddie Ice in the house. Says, tune in to the show tomorrow morning, and I will share my taint play of the day, my best player prop. What a guy. So smash the like button and share the show. So I guess we need to wait and see, because Warren did get skipped. So we'll have to wait and see here. Sharpie says props are on Cam Schlittler are out. I expect it to be Schlittler. And when I'll explain why here in a second. So we've talked about Luzardo. We've talked about Schlittler. Let's talk about the bullpens. The Phillies bullpen is horrific again. And when I say again, I mean, what was it, like 3 years ago, 3 years ago, the worst bullpen in baseball? 6.20 ERA, 1.54 whip. It's a real problem. Yankees bullpen is phenomenal. If it wasn't for the Rays bullpen, this would be the best bullpen in baseball. Yankees bullpen, 2.15 ERA, 1.07 whip. And then when it comes to the sticks, the Yankees are now the worst team in Major League Baseball over the last 30 days against left-handed pitching. They're terrible. Over the last 30 days, from the 23rd of June to the 23rd of July, the Yankees are hitting 186 with a 581 OPS. Horrific. 11 straight taint bets. Look at that. I've got to copy and paste that. I was wondering what the number was. Spectacular work. So this is why I thought it was pretty simple that this was going to be Schlittler. Let me see if I can. No, I guess I can't yet. Let me see if we can get. I'll look at another spot for player props. But this is why I thought this was Schlittler, because the line first off, the total went down. It was an 8.5 juice to the over. Now it's an 8 juice to the under. And then money line wise, show me the money line. God, this site's maybe it's my computer, but I did restart it before the show. All right, I'm gonna wait for that. Here we go. Money line wise here. We've had a 12-cent move towards the Yankees. They went from plus 127 down to plus 109 immediately. And I thought that people in the know knew it was going to be Schlittler and that wasn't going to be Warren. It's stuck around plus 109, plus 111. Now it's a plus 115. But maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. And maybe we should wait. James, maybe we should wait at this point and see who exactly is pitching for the Yankees, even though we think it is Schlittler. And I guess that should stop us from everything here. Let's see who they have at Wager Talk. See if they have Will Warren listed right now. Okay, Schlittler props are out at some books. We got to wait here. We got to wait and get more information. Now we should ask Dougie Wise, who do you expect that you are fading on the Yankees? Because we have Dougie Wise play today on the Philadelphia Phillies. So let's roll on. Let's roll on from that one. It's such a fun game, but I guess we need some confirmations here. So let's roll on. 6:45 p.m. Eastern. The Arizona Diamondbacks 53-49, 22-27 on the road. At the Washington Nationals 52-51, 20-31 at home. We're at Nationals Park in Washington, D.C. Let's get into the weather at Washington, D.C. We have plus 4% runs, 0% homers, plus 8% doubles and triples, and plus 4% singles. We have Eduardo Rodriguez here going up against Zach Littell. Eduardo Rodriguez pitched in the All-Star game, and he came out of it and got annihilated at home versus the Cardinals. And the Nationals aren't the team that you bounce back. And as soon as I sat there and was like, look, they're not going to bounce back here. This isn't, he's going up against a team that's going to just be salivating to attack him. The total was skyrocketing already. I just had to get there earlier. I had to get there earlier before, with that 10, 15, 20 minutes when the line came out, and I didn't. And the total skyrocketed right away. Now, he's been really good this year, and he was really good going into the start. into the All-Star game. I mean, if you look back at what he was doing, we have five? Look at that. 5 straight quality starts. 5 straight quality starts. Then he goes to the All-Star game, and then he gets lit up. Big Drip James says Rodriguez will bounce back. Let's talk about Zach Littell. Now, he's not going to be the starter. He's going to be the primary. You're going to have Palmquist come in. Palmquist is shaky. Littell is shaky. I'm going to focus on Littell because I don't think we'll see 2 innings of Palmquist. I think it's Littell. Littell is the primary. He's coming off allowing 8 earned runs in 6 innings in a 15-1 loss at the Athletics at Sutter Health Park. He looks terrible. He is not pitching well, but it looked like he had turned the corner when he was being used as a primary. Between June 23rd and July 10th, he had 4 appearances where he allowed 6 earned runs. He looked pretty good. When we get to the bullpens, the Nats bullpen's been a problem all year. 6.57 ERA, 1.71 WHIP. Diamondbacks bullpen is pitching well again. 3.46 ERA, 1.14 WHIP. And then when it comes to the sticks, the Diamondbacks don't have power. They don't have power versus right-handed pitchers. And you saw who didn't play today was Ketel Marte. Ketel Marte, now Corbin went on a real dry run, and now he's starting to hit again. You need Corbin hitting. You need Ketel Marte to have somebody joining him in the offense, because there's often times when you back Diamondbacks that you're just sitting there waiting for Ketel Marte to come up each and every time. They seem to do very little without him. And the Nats annihilate lefties. We know that they annihilate lefties. So let's get into the line history here for our next spot on the board, which is Diamondbacks Nationals. We've seen no movement. This one opened up at -120. It is sitting at -120, and nothing is happening. From a total perspective here, we have a full run move to the over. I mean, this was fast. This move from 8.5 to 9. I take that back. I mean, what? I mean, it wasn't that fast. It didn't move till 5. When did I got to it before 5, but I'd seen the move already. I don't know if I can trust this, but it's gone from a juiced over 8.5 to a 9.5 juice to the under. We can call it like 0.8 of a run move here. We have a trend, by the way, that Rod's Wacky just dropped in the chat for the under in the Phillies game. But here in Diamondbacks Nationals, I think this goes over. But it's very expensive. And I would much prefer a 9 than I would a 9.5. And I'm just not going to take, when the line moves a full run in front of me, there's nothing I can do. And I could pay for the 9, and we could see what that would cost. I'm not going to spend more than what are we going to cap it at? -124. Let's see, the over 9 -133. It's expensive. It's very, very expensive. I don't know. Is James expecting Rodriguez to bounce back? I mean, that's well within the realm of possibilities. This isn't really the team I would expect to bounce back performance. And then Palmquist, Littell. Now the Diamondbacks are a tired group, but they're winning baseball games right now. Diamondbacks are 4 games over 500 and right in the thick of the wild card race. Let's take a look at the cash flow for this national spot, and then we'll move on to the next spot on the board. We have 52% of the tickets on the Washington Nationals and 48% of the cash. 57% of tickets on the over and 90% of the cash. And Rod's Wacky said 7 of the Diamondbacks' last 8 games as favorites against an NL East opponent have gone under. Wow. Well, I'm going to have the over with question marks here. Again, -133 is just too expensive. And then if it goes down to -124, I'll question why it went down in the first place. Big Drip James says Erod is not your average lefty, and they have real momentum and motivation to make a player push. Look, that's valid. That's completely valid, James. Last year, though, Eduardo was not your normal lefty. He was a trash lefty. 5.02 ERA, 1.54 WHIP. He was horrific until his last 8 starts of the season. He had just dreadful numbers. But this year, he was an all-star. 2.62 ERA, 1.22 WHIP, but he's got the 5.12 expected ERA. So Lucas Bryan saying take the over and move. I'm very, very, very interested in the over at this point. Again, I don't really want the 9.5. I'd much prefer the 9 at this point. And Topset says he's close to the Diamondbacks team total over 4.5. Sticking with that, focusing on fading the Nats, Palmquist, Littell, and bullpen, then it doesn't matter if Erod does pitch really well here and does have a bounce back start. All right, let's roll on. Next spot on the board for us, 7:05 p.m. Eastern, the Atlanta Braves, 59-42, 28-22 on the road at the Baltimore Orioles, 50-53, 28-25 at home at Oriole Park in Camden Yards, Baltimore, Maryland. Let's get into the weather here in Oriole Park. Plus 1% runs, minus 9% homers, minus 3% doubles and triples, and plus 10% singles here. We have Grant Holmes going up against Trevor Rogers. We'll start with Grant Holmes. Grant Holmes has a 3.70 ERA and a 1.34 WHIP. Got a 4.55 expected ERA. He's a pitcher that wears his emotions on his sleeves, and he cares very, very much. He decided not to have the Tommy John surgery last year. He had a partial tear of his UCL and flexor tendon in his right elbow, and he avoided surgery. And he requires careful handling. He was given at one point, he declared that he wanted a physical and mental reset. That was back in the beginning of May. He took a start off. He wanted it. And then after some poor starts and not going deep in the games and costing the bullpen, June 9th, June 16th, and June 22nd. Over those 3 starts, he went a combined 10 in the third innings. And they told him, look, we're sending you to the bullpen. So his next start, he pitched as a primary, and he pitched really well. And then there was an injury, and he got back his starting job. So over his past 3 starts, when he was moved to primary, he had a 6.10 ERA, a 2.03 WHIP, 10 strikeouts, and 8 walks. Then he started pitching really well. He had 2 good starts before the All-Star break. Then he had the 11 days off over the All-Star break. And then an 8-5 win at home versus Rangers, he pitched okay, 3 earned runs over 5 innings. Going up against Trevor Rogers, 6-7, 4.28 ERA, 1.30 WHIPs, got a 4.21 expected ERA. Bit of an enigma this year. It's hard to cap him because he was so spectacular last year. It was just beyond comprehension. And it was over 109 and 2/3 inning sample size, 1.81 ERA, 0.90 WHIP. It was extremely impressive. He's back. He's pitching at an extremely high level again. Over his last 5 starts, he's allowed 3 earned runs. Only once did he not complete a full 6. It's impressive. That's over his last 6 starts. So 5 of his last 6 starts, he's gone the full 6 and throwing quality. Before that, he was going 5 2/3, 5 2/3, and 6. He's turned the corner. The Braves can't hit lefties. Let's go to the bullpens first. Orioles bullpen's pitching elite. 2.53 ERA, 1.00 WHIP. Braves bullpen 4.31 ERA, 1.24 WHIP. These are 2 teams that aren't hitting. They are simply not hitting. Orioles versus righties is an atrocity. 204, 632 OPS. I shouldn't say atrocity. I should say it's bad, because the atrocity is, I don't know, Yankees versus lefties. It's just bad. Orioles versus righties, 204, 632 OPS. Braves versus lefties, 212, 638 OPS. These are 2 teams that can't hit. Let's get into the line history here for this spot, because it interests me very much. It's a 9. We have a 9 total. Should this be at a 9? Let's just look at the surface stats of these 2 pitchers again. Just surface stats, simple surface stats. 3.70 ERA, 1.34 WHIP with Grant Holmes. I mean, here's a guy who, has already allowed 15 home runs, hasn't looked very good. Then you have a 4.28 ERA, 1.30 WHIP. Why is this a 9? And if I think that there's an advantage here, why wouldn't this have already moved to an 8.5? It's a 9 at a pick 'em. Bookmaker has this juice to the over, and so does Heritage. What the hell am I missing here? This opened up at a 9 at 6:21 p.m. at BetOnline. It's not moved a cent. Why is it such a high number? We've had a 1 cent move to the Braves from plus 104 to plus 103. Very little here. Very little. Rod's Wacky says 7 of the last 8 games between the Braves and the Orioles at Oriole Park at Camden Yards have gone under. This is it's just astonishing to me that this would be such a high number. Let's see if there's a price difference at Pinnacle. When I'm astonished at a total, I don't sit there going, "Oh, I have a huge advantage here." I think that I'm missing something. Let's just take a look at the price difference first 5 in full game here for this one. We have the Diamondbacks, full game minus 114. First 5 minus Diamondbacks. What time am I doing? Sorry, Jesus Christ. Sorry. We have the Braves, a full game at plus 104, and first 5 plus 107. Why is this a 9? The first 5, the over 5 is juiced to the over. Okay, I'm missing something here. We have angles, 3 different angles here from Rod's Wacky on unders. Top set says that first three under 2.5 is a plus 100. I mean, that's what it should be. I'd like to see what it is here at this book, but it simply doesn't make sense to me. The first 3 is plus 110 to the under. Huh. I mean, where do we see offense? We don't have offensive weather. We don't have teams that are hitting. We have 2 good bullpens. Why are they not saying that there's an advantage with Trevor Rogers? I mean, I can't tell you that, there's value at this 9 because I don't understand why it's at that number. Wow, Hard Rock has 9.5 minus 135. Rod's Wacky does have a trend for the over. Says bet over the total in Grant Holmes starts versus an AL team with a slugging percentage of 400 or worse on the season. Says surprise. Says over records in 2025 6-0. Look, I'm going to have to stay off of this spot, much to my chagrin. I think that these are 2 predictable pitchers, 2 predictable baseball teams. But we have very sharp books juicing the over 9. We have Pinnacle juicing the first 5 over 5. Let's roll on. 7:10 p.m. Eastern, Cleveland Guardians 54-49, 27-24 on the road at the Tampa Bay Rays, 59-42, 35-15 at home. And Big Drip says counterpoint that both teams are slightly over teams on the year. I mean, that's fair. It just doesn't make sense to me. We're at the Trop in St. Petersburg, Florida. Only a few more years of the Trop until we get that beautiful new stadium in Tampa. We have the great pitching matchup here: Joey Cantillo versus Shane McClanahan. Now, you guys know that I'm a big believer in Shane McClanahan. I mean, the only person I think loves Shane McClanahan more than myself is Morgan Spooner. And I just think that McClanahan is the real deal. But there's been times this year where he hasn't looked dominant. And that first start after the All-Star break, he certainly didn't look dominant. And he had gone back-to-back phenomenal starts. He went 6 innings, didn't allow a run, didn't walk a batter in a 4-0 win at the Royals. And then 7 days later, he went 6 1/3, didn't walk a batter, and allowed 4 hits and no runs and 3-0 win at home versus the Yankees. He looked very, very good. So I believe in him very much. And I was, texting back and forth with Spooner today about this game. And the elephant in the room in this baseball game is that the Guardians had to go 12 innings today and lost. And they've gone deep into their bullpen. But Shane McClanahan is spectacular. I mean, we'd barely seen him since 2023. Tommy John in 2024, the triceps injury that cost him 2025. And why wouldn't he have a bounce back start against a Guardians team that just can't hit lefties? They can't hit lefties at all. We'll get into that. But let's talk about Joey Cantillo on the other side. 8-5, 3.74 ERA, 1.42 WHIP, got a 3.94 expected ERA. And Cantillo is a really good lefty. And he's going to have to go very deep in this baseball game because of the exhausted bullpen. First start after the All-Star break, 4 runs over 5 innings and a 7-1 loss at home versus the Pirates. Big Drip James says it should be a great bounce back spot for McClanahan against a Guardians mediocre lineup. I agree completely. Now, we'd like some things to correlate here. Cantillo was pitching very well. I mean, we're talking elite. Oh, look at these starts. Starting June 13th, 1 run over 5 innings at home versus the Tigers. 1 run over 8 innings at the Astros. 1 run over 6 innings at home versus the Mariners. 2 runs over 5 innings. That's the only start where he led more than 1 run in this stretch before the All-Star break. 2 runs over 5 innings, 9-4 win at home versus the Rangers. No runs over 5 innings at the Twins. I mean, this guy is just pitching very, very well. Now, I still believe in McClanahan over Cantillo. When we talk about these bullpens, these are two very good bullpens. This Rays bullpen over the last 30 days has a 0.90 whip. Spectacular. 3.14 ERA, 0.94 whip. You can see by the graphics that this is just a bullpen that's getting better and better as the season goes on, which isn't a common occurrence with the Tampa Bay Rays. Guardians bullpen very good as well. 3.23 ERA, 1.30 whip. But we talked they're exhausted. So we have the first elephant in the room, and that's that this Guardians bullpen is exhausted. The second elephant in the room is that the Rays destroy lefties and the Guardians can't hit them. Now Ramirez is back in the lineup, and we see a change against left-handed pitching. But if we go back 30 days, we have a 197 average and a 596 OPS. And my guy Paco Healy is in the house. God, Paco, we've missed you, man. Let me finish off this game before I can give you the welcome that you deserve. OG Lowbagger from day one here. Paco Healy in the house. So we have clear advantages. I mean, big advantages for the Tampa Bay Rays throughout this whole game. And yet we don't have a line movement towards them. We're sitting here at minus 135. That's tough to explain. We'll look at the price difference first 5 in full game, but let's get to the total. From a total standpoint here, we have a 5-cent move to the under. Let's get to the price difference. Show me now. Maybe you can't get a price difference because Cantillo is that good. And that is fine. I wouldn't be upset. Let's see what we got for the. And here we go. So we have the Rays minus 128 full game at Pinnacle. First 5 minus 137. I mean, I think we've got everything that we need to know. I think that this is how I'm betting this game. I'm going to bet. Now, this is low volatility. I really don't want a minus a half on the first 5. If this was an 8.5, sure. But this is a 7.5 juice to the under. So I think that you have to pay the cost to be the boss here. So I think this is a first 3 under, but that would have to be a 2. We'll take a look at that price. I think this is a Rays first 5 and full game. But because of this cost, it might not be worth the first 5, even despite the price difference. This might be better off just the first 3 under and the Rays full game. I mean, do you really want to have that much vig against Joey Cantillo? Now, maybe we do because of the advantages we have with the sticks. Look, I'll have to figure out whether or not I had the first 5 as well. I'll have to figure that out. But the first 3 under and the full game make sense to me. And let's take a look here at the number. The number for this first 3 under in the Rays Guardians game. So we have a 7.5 minus 115 to the under. So this should be expensive. This should be minus 145 to the under. If it's minus 135 to the under, I would expect it to be minus 155 when we get here in the morning. So let's see. We have a 7.5 minus 115 to the under. Let's go down. And we have minus 150 to the under. So you have to turn into a 2, which I'm more than comfortable doing. Now, Topset's also on the under 7.5. I'm concerned about the Guardians bullpen being so exhausted and not forcing Cantillo to go too far. But I completely understand with these 2 starting pitchers and the idea that Cantillo can slow down the Rays against left-hand pitching. I completely get why you'd be on it. For me, it'll be the first 3 under 2. And let's see what that first 5 is. You guys know that I've been trying not to bet them, but you can easily build a 4 here at 365. They're showing me a 3.5 at plus 110. Sorry, I had it up here. So let's see what this is at Penny. Penny's first under 4. Wow. Look at that. It's juiced to the over at minus 116. That's a bit of a surprise. That's a real surprise. Big Drip James close to firing 2 units on. I'm right with you guys. I move on this tonight. Maybe it is Cantillo that is vulnerable. Why would that 4 be so juiced? Look at this 4 at Pinnacle. This first 5 over 4 is minus 116. The under 4 is minus 101. Huh. So the first 5 and the first 5 under, I'm not certain about. But the first 3 under and the full game, I want badly here. Badly. That is the Guardians Tampa Bay Rays. Before we move on next game, let's take a second to shout out Paco Healy in the house, man. We have missed you. It's great to see you, man. Says, loving the evening look ahead. Thank you for joining us, Paco, man. Much love to you and your sweet family. Great to have you here in the chat. Great to have you in the chat. All right, let's roll on. Let's roll on to the next spot on the board. But we have some trends here in the Tampa game that we should discuss quickly. Rod White says, bet on Tampa in home games on the money line against the left-handed starter. Tampa's record during 2026 season, 12-1. Says, bet on Tampa in home games on the money line when playing on a Friday. Tampa's record during 2026 season, 8-0. Yeah, this is appealing. This is worth an investment. It's just, how do you bet it? You know, it's one thing to cap the game. It's a totally different thing to bet it right. Got to put that together. I'll make moves after the show. Let's roll on. Next spot on the board, 7:10 p.m. Eastern. We have the Dodgers at the New York Mets. LA Dodgers 65-38, 34-19 on the road. At the New York Mets, 43-60, 21-28 at home. You know, I wasn't sure. You know, I didn't think the Mets were going to be that good. But 17 games under 500, 7 games under 500 at home. Horrific. We have Roki Sasaki on the hill, 4.98 ERA, 1.34 whip. Oh, and weather, very, very important. Thank you at Citi Field. We know it's usually run suppressing, and this is no different. Minus 8% runs, minus 6% homers, minus 15% doubles and triples, and minus 4% singles. We have Roki Sasaki, 4.98 ERA, 1.34 whip, 4.58 expected ERA. And I was a big believer in that we could be ahead of the curve backing him. That was about mid-May. And I was right. I had a friend who, you know, is not part of our community, a friend up here. And he was like, you were right about Amai and Sasaki. And I was like, I was. And as soon as I got confident, Sasaki started getting destroyed, and so did Amai. But I really believe that we have value on both Sasaki and Amai moving forward. In Amai's last start, I was on him first 3 and first 5, and he cashed them very, very easily. Sharpie was a big believer in Amai in his last start as well. So let's talk about Sasaki's last start. It was a thing of beauty at the Yankees. First start out of the All-Star break, they went to him. He proved them right. Didn't allow an earned run. 5 2/3, 5 Ks and 1 walk. Looked really, really good. Start before that, 6 innings, 3 earned runs. And that was at home versus the Rockies. Okay. He had 2 starts where he didn't look very good at the end of June and the beginning of July. In the end of June, 4 innings, 3 earned runs, and 7-1 loss to the Padres. And then on July 2nd, 3 earned runs, 3 innings, 6 earned runs, and a 12-7 win home at the Padres. So the Padres got to him in 2 starts. I think, you know, we can sort of put a lot. I believe that he's better than his numbers indicate. Let's leave it at that. Let's talk about who he's facing. Sean Manaea, the soft tossing lefty vet. 2-5, 4.74 ERA, 1.36 whip. It's got a 4.34 expected ERA. We last saw him on July 18th, and he is just very average. But it seems that at home, he is better than average. And on the road, he is below average. It's a pretty mediocre pitcher, but he is a type of pitcher that can get us. He can hurt us at home at times, especially when we write him off. That last start at home was really good. It was at home versus the Royals. The Royals are hitting lefties pretty hard right now. 2 earned runs, 3 runs total, 2 earned. He went 7 innings. He wasn't allowing home runs. You know, he had 3 straight starts where he didn't allow any home runs before allowing 2 each, July 4th and July 9th. And then he got touched up against the Phillies on July 18th. He's not very good. Manaea is not very good. The Mets aren't very good. And the Mets bullpen is bad. Mets bullpen over the last 30 days, 5.84 ERA, 1.56 whip. Dodgers bullpen, 3.93 ERA, 1.38 whip. And then when it comes to the sticks, Mets versus righties, 248, 755 OPS last 30 days. They're hitting okay. The Dodgers are annihilating lefties. Last 30 days, the Dodgers are hitting 287 with an 832 OPS versus lefties. I mean, we're talking, they're the best live bet in baseball. The Dodgers are just a gift that keeps giving to all of its backers constantly. Let's get it. Look, they're just so dominant. They're so dominant that it looks like we won't have a baseball season next year because they want to curb this ability for the Dodgers to be so dominant. This total has climbed. Opened up 8.5 minus 105 to the over. Now it's a 9 minus 105 to the over. I agree with that. I do think Minaya is better than his numbers indicate at home, and I believe in Sasaki. So that's tricky. It's not as blatant. We've had a 10-cent move to the Dodgers, and why wouldn't we? Minus 135 to minus 145. Now, this did get up to minus 163 immediately, which is important. I'd like to let's look at the second book for line shopping, a second offshore, because this opened up at minus 135, then got to minus 163 10 minutes later. So it's dropped from minus 163 to minus 145 since then. So it's kind of a tricky tricky line to really quantify. Why don't we look at Bookmaker and we'll look at Heritage too. Bookmaker opened this up at minus 150, and just like Bet Online, they got him up to minus 163. Since then, there was a hefty move back to the Mets. It went down to minus 141. Very, very, very interesting there. Let's see if Heritage did the exact same thing. Taking a second for Heritage to come up. Here we go. So Heritage opened this up at minus 161. Now they moved it. They opened this up at 2:53 p.m. That move from minus 135 up to minus 163 happened between 12:30 and 2 p.m. on Thursday afternoon. So since then, they've moved 10 cents back towards the Mets. That's very, very interesting. Huh. Very, very interesting. Let's take a look at the price difference here for the Dodgers' first 5 in full game. See if the books are tipping their hand that there is an advantage, or a real advantage. So the Dodgers are at minus 147, not very expensive. And then first half they're minus 144. So Minaya and the Mets are plus 132 full game, and first 5 plus 123. That's pretty interesting. We have several trends here to back Sean Minaya. To bet against Sean Minaya. Rodwijk says bet against Minaya on the money line when his team is off a loss. Minaya's record since the 2025 season 1-11. Then he says bet against Sean Minaya on the run line versus NL team scoring 4.5 or more runs per game on the season. Minaya's team record since 2025 0-7. Then we have bet over the total, 2 trends for over the total, and Mark Sasowski says my model likes the Mets here. That's fascinating buyback. I want to back the Dodgers in every opportunity that I get. But this is some fascinating buyback. It's enough to give me pause here. It's enough to give me pause. So I had thought that after breaking this down with you guys, this was going to be a very simple bet on the Dodgers. And I don't think that is necessarily the case here. It feels like the over is maybe the more confident play, but I do like Minaya, or I think that we know that Minaya is better at home than he is on the road, and that Sasaki, I believe, is better than his numbers indicate. Look at this. We have 88% of the tickets and 94% of the cash on the Dodgers here. 53% of tickets on the under and 87% of cash on the over. Paco Healy says Sasaki regresses. I mean, what is Sasaki's regression? It would be positive, wouldn't it? I mean, I think he's better than these numbers indicate. And I guess, regressing off of a good start, and that would be fair. Look, I'm going to have to let this market marinate. Topset says this line closes at minus 165. I think that is very, very legitimate. In saying that, I would like to see that. before I pull the trigger. I mean, we are pretty certain that this buyback or this line move after the first major line move, this line move back to the Mets, is not being done by the public. It's being done by a small number of cappers that the books respect. So with all that said and done, I'm off. But look at this. Dodgers run line is the 10-star play of the day from Rod Sawacki. And he says, you know what I call Sasaki? And I do know what he calls Roki Sasaki. It's Sasaki. I do know what Rod calls him. Wow. 10-star play today from Rod on the Dodgers. Topset said he's going to be public on the Dodgers run line. I am not moving on the Dodgers tonight. The over is somewhat appealing. We do have run-suppressing weather. I'm off at this point. Let's roll on. 7:10 p.m. Eastern. The San Diego Padres 50-52, 23-28 on the road at the Miami Marlins 52-51, 31-20 at home. Lone Depot Park in Miami, Florida. Here, roof will be closed. It's hot and humid. We have Herman Marquez on the hill here. Herman Marquez, God, he was just atrocious last year. And then the Rockies had finally seen enough. And then he went over to the Padres and he looked okay for a little bit. And then he started looking very weak. 5.24 ERA, 5.83 expected ERA, 1.54 whip. He's got 30 strikeouts and 22 walks. That's not the K to walk ratio that anybody is looking for. He was placed on the 15-day IL, retroactive back to May 2nd, due to right forearm nerve irritation. So he missed 2 months before being activated on July 2nd. When he was activated on July 2nd in that first start, he was the primary. He went 3 innings, allowed 2 earned runs, and a 12-7 loss at the Dodgers. Then he's got to start the last 3 times. First one, he went 5 innings, didn't allow a run, 4-1 win at home versus the Diamondbacks. We know that the run-suppressing marine layer is something that he can take advantage of. July 12th, his next start, he allowed 3 earned runs over 4 innings at home versus the Jays. So back-to-back home starts. First one was good. Second one wasn't good. And then July 19th on Sunday, in a 19-2 win at the Royals, he went ahead and allowed those 2 runs in the first 3 innings. He's not to be trusted. Now, we don't know who the Marlins are pitching. RotoWire says that it's Gusto, but we know that Ryan Gusto just pitched on Tuesday. So if he is pitching here on Friday, he'll pitch an inning, no more than 2, because he just pitched on Tuesday. So I don't think it's going to be Gusto, but we need to wait and see who it is going to be. The problem is this Marlins bullpen has been terrible over the last little while. This was a pretty good bullpen for a lot of the season. As the Marlins are stacking the losses as fast as they had stacked the wins on that winning streak, their bullpen has fallen apart. 5.29 ERA, 1.30 whip. Those are still better numbers than what we've seen from the Padres bullpen. Padres, of course, had the best bullpen in baseball last year and had the best bullpen in baseball, arguably over the first 2 months of the year. Now they're bad. 5.77 ERA, 1.50 whip. It's wild to say that you have a bad bullpen when you have Mason Miller back in the back of it. Both teams are hitting. Now, we don't know if the Padres are going up against righties or lefties, but they're hitting both of them. Padres versus righties last 30 days, 258, 794 OPS. Padres versus lefties, 274, 799 OPS. I mean, there was a time where you had Tatis leading off and Ty France hitting in the 4-hole and nobody else doing anything. You had Machado under the Mendoza line. Now Machado is starting to hit. So things are starting to change here for the Padres. The Marlins are destroying righties. Now, they're not over the last 5 games, as our graphics show, but over the last 30 days, 282, 845 OPS. Sharpie says something about about the Dodgers. Says they're great hitting versus lefties. Soft tossing guys who know how to pitch last month have shut them down. Interesting. That's very interesting. So with all of this said and done, I don't see how runs aren't scored here. It just doesn't feel like it's like. Now, one thing, if it is a Marlins bullpen day, those of you who capped with me for a long time know that years ago, 4 years ago or so, when we started getting the bullpen days, when the Rays started bringing them in when I was back at Parkdale, I would fade bad bullpens on bullpen days and lose my shirt. So I have a real vividness bias about fading bad bullpens, or at least bullpens that are statistically poor over a certain period of time that we're using. Here we have the Marlins between minus 133 and minus 138. Many books haven't put the line out because we don't know who's pitching for the Marlins. And then let's get this total up here because it feels like that's what we should attack. But it's taking a second here for the goddamn site to come up. Oh, here we go. God, it's so frustrating waiting for this. Okay, so here we go. From a total side of things, we have a 9, which is a very high total in Miami. But I think it's right. I think that this total is... Look, I think that we should bet the over soon. I think we should bet the over tonight. I mean, what would keep us off of it? I guess the Rodswaggy says it will be Gusto. So Gusto will go an inning and a half or 2. Again, he just pitched on Tuesday 2 innings. So he's going to have 2 days off. And we'll see if it is him. But if it is him, it's still going to be a bullpen day. Let's take a look. And I guess we'll have no cash flow because, we do have cash flow. Interesting. So we have 50-50 ticket count, but 91% of the cash is on the over. The books are slightly juiced. The legal books are slightly juiced to the under at 9. 53% of the tickets on the Friars and 82% of the cash on the Marlins. Wow. Well, I'm interested in the over. I just don't trust anybody who's going to, but maybe it's, I wonder if we're better off. I wonder if we're better off just betting a first 5 over. But again, the Padres bullpen's being so bad, why wouldn't we? And the Padres, had to go deep into their bullpen again. Okay, I want the over. I'm interested in the over. I don't want to double down on it. I don't want first 5 in full game. Let's roll on. Next spot on the board, 7:10 p.m. Eastern, Fenway Park in Boston, Massachusetts. We're now all of a sudden in the wild card race, Boston Red Sox host their AL East rival, the Toronto Blue Jays, who snapped their 4-game losing streak on today, on Thursday. So we have plus 12% runs, minus 6% homers, plus 22% doubles and triples, and plus 10% singles. We have 21 Savage here starting for the Jays. I know he started the year on the IL and got him off to a slow start, but once we saw him pitch that first month of May, his first start wasn't until late April, so I missed the first month. I was like, God, this guy is an all-star. And then he started getting hit right at the end of May. 5 earned runs over 6 2/3 at home versus the Marlins. He bounced back decently at the Orioles. Then he got hit for 6 earned runs over 5 2/3 when he faced the Orioles in succession. Then 5 earned runs over 5 innings at home versus the Yankees. Then he has a good start at the Red Sox. He likes pitching in Fenway. Who wouldn't? And then on June 24th, 5 2/3, he lost 1 earned run at home versus the Astros. June 29th, 1 earned run over 6 2/3 at home versus the Mets. And then we think he's back. He goes to Seattle. They lose 4-0, but he pitches well. 2 earned runs over 6 innings. And then he gets absolutely annihilated when I was in Vegas at the Padres. He goes 1 2/3, and he walked 7 batters. So he gets the All-Star break off. He comes back on July 19th at home versus the White Sox, and he has a bounce-back start. 3 earned runs over 6 innings, 9 strikeouts, and 2 walks. He likes pitching in Fenway Park. He likes pitching in big games. He's a big game pitcher, and I know the Jays are out of it. But when the Jays play the Red Sox, it's just, it's a big game. Patrick Sandoval here. It's great to have him back. We hadn't seen him in the majors since June of 2024. He had the internal brace surgery, and then he had complications over and over again. It took 2 years. We finally have him back. He looked unbelievable in a 6-start rehab, 4 starts in AAA Worcester, 2 in AA Portland. Then in his first start back, we backed him. We backed him on unders. We backed him on the side. It was a 2-1 win at the White Sox, and he looked really good. Now remember, the White Sox have stopped hitting lefties at the level that they were hitting them at, so it's not as big of a it wasn't as impressive as it would have been had he had done that, 6 weeks ago or 8 weeks ago when the White Sox were hitting lefties. Then his next start so he gets 9 days off. His next start after the All-Star game, Patrick Sandoval gets touched up. He gets touched up. 5 innings, 5 runs, 4 earned runs, 7-6 win at home versus Rays. Now, what's the difference between the White Sox and the Rays? The Rays are hitting lefties hard. The White Sox aren't. What are the Jays doing? They're not hitting lefties hard at all. 201, 608 OPS. They're struggling against left-handed pitching. There's no reason why Sandoval shouldn't have a bounce-back start here. Even though we have a very small sample size of his work, the Jays aren't hitting lefties. So let's go into the bullpens here. The Jays bullpen, 3.92 ERA, 1.28 whip, very mediocre. Red Sox bullpen's been excellent. Big part of this winning streak, 2.46 ERA, 1.08 whip. Then when we get to the sticks, the Jays 201, 608 OPS versus lefties. A lot of teams are struggling versus lefties right now, and the Jays are one of them. Red Sox 254, 715 over the last 30 days versus righties. Now they're hitting righties. They're just not hitting righties with much power. Rod Zwacky says he's betting the over the says bet over the total in Boston games, revenging a 3-game sweep at home against an opponent. Over his record since 2024 is 7-0 here. Let's take a look at the line history here for Jays Red Sox. We have an 8.5 with no movement. Now, no movement at Bet Online. When you look at Heritage, no movement. Bookmaker is juiced to the over 8.5. They're juiced to the over 8.5. Let's take a look at the money line here. See if there's an opportunity for us to make a move. It is taking a second to come up and hear this. Okay, so on the money line, we have a 2-cent move towards Sandoval. Well, minus 120 to minus 122. Very, very minimal. Then let's see if there's a price difference. Price difference here on the Red Sox or Jays. First 5 full games. So we have the Jays plus 110 full game. First 5 plus 103. To put that into perspective, the Red Sox are minus 121 full game. And first 5, they're minus 121. So there's more vig on first 5s. It's really not that big of an advantage here. So let's take a look at the cash flow for this AL East battle. 78% of the tickets and 91% of the cash is on the Red Sox. 91 and 91 on the over. Look, I think that Sandoval is capable of being a really good pitcher. We had high hopes for him when he was pitching for the Angels. He was the only pitcher that we thought could hold his weight. There was times where Detmers looked like he had potential, 2 years ago. We're seeing it now. But Jays snapped their losing streak. The Red Sox snapped their 15-game franchise-tying winning streak. I like the Jays here. Curious to see what this first 3 under is. I'm not running to bet it. I do think that Sandoval is still a question mark, coming back from being gone for 2 years. I mean, I think that Bieber is an example of someone who's barely pitched for the last 2 years. And Bieber took 5 starts to have a good start. Now he's had back-to-back great starts. So let's see what the first 3 is. It's juiced to the over minus 125. Juiced to the over. And 8.5 at a pick'em. I guess that's fine. That would be 5 cents to the over. Sharpie says 2 games in his velocity and RPMs are close to being better than 2024 on all of his pitches. Well. I think Savage should be backed here. He's a big game pitcher who pitches well against the Red Sox. Now, why would Sandoval not have a good start? Let's take a look at what Penny has for this first 5. So Penny has this full game at a pick'em. And then we get to the first 5. It's juiced to the under 4.5. Huh. Well. Well, I want the Blue Jays first 5. I'll start there. And you know what? I don't know how much. I mean, look. Obviously, the last team that had a winning streak even close to what the Red Sox did was the Marlins. They went on that big winning streak and immediately on a big losing streak. It's not like we're sitting here going, look how good the Red Sox are. They were getting every bounce that you could imagine in every situation. Nobody's sitting here going, oh, watch out for the Red Sox, man. And no one's moving on Red Sox futures. I mean, there was some talk about Red Sox futures in the chat over the last couple of weeks, but and if I say something negative about the Red Sox, Nasty Nate just magically appears. So I want the Blue Jays first 5, and then I'm interested in first 3 and first 5 unders. I'm not going to move on those tonight. I think I'm going to move on the Jays first 5 tonight. The first 3 under, the Jays get to get out of Toronto and not be hanging their heads too low because they snapped that losing streak. And Rod Zweig says bet on all teams when the money line's plus 125 to minus 125, revenging a 3-game sweep at the hands of their opponents with a winning record on the season, playing a losing team since 2017, 30-9. So Rod Zwacky is backing. Well, his trends are backing the Red Sox. We'll see if he moves on them, but certainly very interested in them. Topset says he sees runs. Well, I want you Savage first 5. I think he steps up here like he tends to do against this squad. But okay, that's not hem and haw. Let's roll on next spot on the board. 7:40 p.m. Eastern. Houston Astros 50-54, 24-27 on the road. White Sox 54-47, 31-17 at home. We're at Wright Field in Chicago, Illinois. Rod Zwacky is on the Boston Red Sox in that spot we just spoke of. We have plus 1% runs even for homers, minus 4% doubles and triples, and plus 2% singles. Spencer Arrighetti on the hill. And man, I mean, I kind of put Arrighetti up on a tee for us. We only saw him for 7 starts last year. He dealt with a ton of injuries. And then he didn't make the team out of spring training. He went to Sugarland and he was unhittable. And then he came up to the majors and he was unhittable. He was such a bulldog when he'd walk on the mound. It was like he knew he was going to deliver. His off-speed pitches were moving with just dramatic moves. I'd never seen his off-speed look so difficult to hit. It was great start after great start after great start. His first 8 starts of the year in Major League Baseball, he allowed more than 1 run one time. That's when he allowed 2 runs. He was unbelievable. And maybe he's not that mentally tough. Because after he started getting hit, I told you guys on the show, I was like, he's lost all of that confidence. He was walking on the mound, his hair was swirling, he had this look on his face like he was going to take it, and then all of a sudden he walked onto the mound meekly and he didn't look tough and he was getting hit. The Astros have lost his last 6 starts and he has bounced back after bad starts. So he had some really bad starts. June 20th, 6 earned runs over 6 innings. Then he followed it up with another clunker, 8 earned runs over 3 innings, allowed 3 jacks, and 8-0 loss to the Tigers. And then he bounced back, 1 earned run over 6 innings at home versus Rays. Then the start before the All-Star break, he gets annihilated again at the Nationals. So, when we're looking, what is the common factor here with him is that he's getting destroyed on the road, and then he's bouncing back in his home starts, where here he is on the road. Going up against Davis Martin, 3.31 ERA, 1.27 whip, 4.32 expected ERA. You could say the similar thing that I just said about Arrighetti about Davis Martin. Davis Martin looked very, very good. He looked very, very good. He was unhittable at home, and he still has ridiculous numbers at home, and then he was getting touched on the road. But he started looking vulnerable even at home. That last home start he had was the start before the All-Star break. He allowed 5 earned runs over 4 innings. Like, I'm not sitting here saying, look, Davis Martin is back. He's a monster again, but he did have a good start after the All-Star break, July 18th at the Blue Jays. Let's talk about these bullpens. They're pitching very well. White Sox bullpen 2.21 ERA, 1.09 whip over the last 30 days. Astros bullpen 2.80 ERA, 1.15 whip. And then when it comes to the sticks, they're both hitting righties hard. It's not the lefties that White Sox are annihilating anymore. It's righties. White Sox last 30 days, 265, 787 OPS. Astros just righties, 244, 768 OPS. So let's get into the line history here for the spot. We have a big move towards Houston, plus 132 to plus 120. I think that Davis Martin just hasn't looked nearly as good as we're used to, and that's a part of it. Now, he's coming off a good start off the break. We've talked about that. Then we have a 20-cent move towards the over. Look, I think the over should be bet as soon as possible, and I think they should be bet first 5. These bullpens are too dangerous. They're too scary. I think we need to attack these 2 starting pitchers who just aren't pitching that well. Shout out to T-Mac in the house. I am on Calgary tomorrow night. I am on Calgary, my friend. So let's get into the price difference. And I'd also like to look at the first 3. I've not bet the first 3 over all year long. When I thought the first 3 over was in play, I bet the first 5 over because I think that's, you want that second time and then a chunk of the third time through the lineup. So let's take a look at the price difference. First 5 full game. We've already seen this move towards the Astros. I don't think that's necessarily predicated on Arrighetti having a good start. I think that's just saying that Davis Martin isn't just not pitching nearly at the level that his numbers indicate. So we have the Houston Astros plus 121 full game, plus 120 first 5. So it's Huh. Oh, and Rod Zawacki said, yeah, plus 2,200. It was Rod Zawacki who said win the World Series. Plus 2,200. I will copy and paste that. I'll copy and paste that, Rod, so I remember. So there is a couple people talking about backing the Red Sox for the series. Okay, so let's now move to where the money is. And I know that it's not that important at this point, but we have 55% of tickets on the under and 66% of cash on the under. Look, I've got to move on overs. I have got to move on overs here, but I'm too afraid of these bullpens cleaning up the mess that the starters make. So we have an 8.5 juice to the over, right? What was the last 8.5 juice to the over that we talked about? It wasn't there an 8.5? Oh, it's 8.5 juice to the under in the Rockies Brewers spot. We have an 8 juice. Okay, because we don't have a full 8.5. We do with the Savage Sandoval, and then we have Arrighetti Martin. Okay, so let's see what this first three is. It's an 8.5 juice to the over, so it should be at least minus 125 to the over and minus 115 to the under. And the first three is minus 135 to the over. I think these starters are going to get touched. Mark Sisowski says the model loves this play. I'm in. I'm in too, but I don't want to mess with those bullpens. I think it's the first 3 over and the first 5 over. Rod Zwag says bet over the total White Sox games when playing with a day off over his record during the 2026 season, 13-1. And Topset says he agrees with the over and he loves unders as well. Yeah, I'm with you guys. But I'm going to focus on Arrighetti and Davis Martin. So I'm going to bet my first 3 over of the season, and I'm going to have the first 5 over as well. This is a double up spot for me. First 3 over, first 5 over. Let's go get this money. Let's roll on to the next spot on the board. Next spot on the board for us, 8:05 p.m. Eastern, the Seattle Mariners, the Texas Rangers, where Globe Life Field in Arlington, Texas. Roof will be up. 100-degree weather in Texas these days. We have Bryce Miller on the hill, 4-4, 2.27 ERA, 0.88 WHIP. It's got a 2.49 expected ERA. Look, the guy's been unbelievable. I mean, he misses the first quarter of the season with the oblique strain. He's coming off a terrible 2025. 5.68 ERA, 1.41 WHIP. It was elbow injuries, elbow issues throughout. And then he starts his season halfway through May, and he looks very, very good. I mean, start after start, just spectacular. In his first 6 starts, didn't allow a run in 3 of them. He was very tough to hit, especially at home, though. You see the unbelievable numbers at home. Now, the road numbers are still very good as well. But he got touched up a little bit on Thursday, June 25th. 3 runs over 5 2/3, loss at the Pirates. He got touched for 4 runs, 6 runs in total at the Marlins. Of course, those were road starts. And then he would come home and pitch very well. I think that he's not quite as good as his numbers indicate. And if you wanted to attack him, you would attack him on the road. Mackenzie Gore, on the other hand, 6-8, 4.80 ERA, 1.28 WHIP. He's got a 3.95 expected ERA. At times, he's been very, very good. His last start at the Braves wasn't very good. It was his first start out of the All-Star break. Went 5 2/3, 5 earned runs, 7 Ks, 1 walk. It was not very good. But that came on the heels of him, shutting down the Astros. Now, he didn't go deep into that game, only 4 innings. But he allowed just 1 earned run, walked only 1 batter. And that was the start before the All-Star break. The start before that at home, he got touched up. It's the first time that he's really been annihilated all season long. Got touched up for 7 earned runs. At home versus the Angels, it was a surprise. It was just, it was a surprise. I think that he could have been dealing with a bit of arm fatigue. If you look at the splits from our graphics, you can see that he's a much, much stronger pitcher in the controlled environment, that you get in Globe Life. So let's take a look at the bullpens. The Rangers bullpen has been horrible. Last 30 days, 6.53 ERA, 1.57 WHIP. It's just been really bad. This Mariners bullpen, I don't know what to do with them. They have the pieces to be a great bullpen, but they just don't seem to put it together. They've been better the last 5 games, and this is when we expect them to step up. 4.14 ERA, 1.17 WHIP over the last 30. Mariners versus lefties, 247, 708 OPS. They're looking for a left-handed bat. We heard today that they are now not left-handed bat they're looking for a bat that can hit lefties. And they are now dangling Emerson Hancock. Emerson Hancock is being dangled by the Mariners if they can get help hitting. Rangers versus righties, 226, 705 OPS. They haven't been very good. Sharpie says, not like Gore's been great this year, but since he came into the league every year, he falls off a cliff come the All-Star break. A career 6.5 ERA in July, August. Rodswag says, bet against Seattle in road games on the money line versus a team with a good bullpen, whose whip is 1.35 or better. Seattle's record during the 2026 season, 2-13. Well, let's take a look at the line history here for this one. We have 7 cents of movement towards the over. This opened up at a 7.5 minus 105 to the over. Now it's a 7.5 minus 112 to the over. I think I agree with that. And you guys know I'm not an over better, but I think I agree with that. We've had a 2-cent move towards the Mariners from minus 113 to minus 115, but it's not very much. Let's take a look at the price difference. Let's take a look at what the prices are for the first threes and the first fives. We have right now the Mariners at minus 116, full game at Pinnacle. And when we go to their first five, it's minus 119. So they're not saying that the Mariners are an advantage there. To put that into perspective, the Rangers are plus 105 full game, and first five, they're plus 102. So let's take a look at what Pinnacle is doing with the first five total. First five total is a 4 at a pick'em. I think I want to get in the way of that. I think that I'm probably better off going full game, but I could bet both. I'm really not against moving on both. Maybe it's better to move on just one. Let's take a look at what that first three is. So we just talked about the Houston White Sox game, and that first three was minus 135 to the over at 2.5. I mean, I think that's really them tipping their hand. Now that's an 8.5 slightly juiced to the over. Here we have a 7.5 at a pick'em. So 7.5 at a pick'em. We had a 7.5 earlier at a pick'em, and that was the Royals Tigers game, right? We do have an opener at this point, it looks like, for that Royals game. But we have in the Royals Tigers game, that's a 7.5. Now it's with Scooball involved. But that first three is minus 150 to the under at a 7.5 at the pick'em. So this is a perfect comparison when we go to this spot here, Mariners Rangers. The Mariners Rangers first three under is at same number, minus 150. Very, very, very interesting. Topset said he was sure that this line would be minus 140-ish first five. Rod Zawacki says, bet over the total in Mackenzie Gore starts in July games. Over his record since 2025, 9-1. And he tags Sharpie. So that goes in right with what Sharpie's saying. Topset says, books are saying Gore deals tomorrow. I don't know. I guess. I mean, the Mariners are 8 games under 500 on the road. The Rangers are just 1 game over 500 at home, but the Rangers are the dog. I think that we move on and over. I think we move on and over, but why do you think the books are telling us that the under is the play? We've seen 7 cents of movement towards the over at 7.5. Let's see where the cash is. 75% of the tickets on the over and 95% of cash on the over. It's a lot of money on the over. A lot of the legal. So I guess you'd want to see it to continue to move if that much money's on them. It's juiced to the over at Pinnacle as well. Yeah, I'm reading the market differently, quite a bit differently, because, Bryce Miller and Mackenzie Gore have pretty nice numbers. And let's just go back saying, so let's just see when the movement happened here to the over 7.5. So this opened up at 7.5 minus 105, and then 21 minutes later, there was 7 cent move to the over at minus 112. If we go to Bookmaker opened this at 7.5 at minus 106. And listen to this, top set. Minus 106 to the over, minus 111 to the under. It's now minus 120 to the over and plus 102 to the under. I see this differently, and I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I'm going to be on the full game over 7.5, and I may double down. I may double down. I don't think I double down tonight. I would like to wake up in the morning, see it moving further in my direction, and say, I think I'm right here. The over 7.5 for me in Seattle Mariners, Texas Rangers, and we roll on. 8:10 p.m. Eastern with the Athletics, 43-59, 23-29 on the road at the Minnesota Twins, 50-53, 26-25 at home. We're at Target Field in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Let's get into the weather here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. At Target, we have even runs, minus 1% homers, plus 1% doubles and triples, and minus 1% singles. Let's get into the situation here. We have Jacob Lopez, and he's a tricky pitcher to cap because he's got some horrible numbers: 6.64 ERA, 1.73 WHIP, but he's got a 3.84 expected ERA. That's wildly interesting for a pitcher who's walked 36 batters in 59 2/3. They sent him down to the minors after his start on May 31st. He stayed down there until he was recalled on July 7th. In AAA Las Vegas, which is a very difficult place to pitch, he had 4 starts, and he only threw 15 innings. He had a 7.20 ERA and a 1.73 WHIP, but at least he had 17 strikeouts and 5 walks over 15 innings. If his K to walk ratio, 17-5 in AAA, it's much more impressive than 49-36. He's just walking a ton of batters. So he gets brought up for a July 7th appearance. He's a primary, and he doesn't look very good at the Tigers. 4 runs over 3 innings. Then July 10th, he got to start, and he only went an inning and 2/3 because he was a primary on July 7th. He only had the 2 days off, which is similar to what if Gusto starts today, he'll probably just go an inning and 2/3. So then he got the All-Star break off. He came back and went versus the Nationals, and he was okay. Now it was at home, Sutter Health Park. Very, very offensive weather, and he was pretty good. 4 1/3, 2 runs, 6 Ks, 2 walks, and a 5-2 loss at home versus the Nationals. Then we have Zebby Matthews, 5.40 ERA, 1.34 WHIP. He's got a 4.78 expected ERA. He's another. So we have 2 pitchers whose expected ERAs are much better than what their numbers look. Matthews did not look good at St. Paul this year. He looked terrible in 16 big league starts last year, 5.56 ERA. He didn't look good. But he gets strikeouts. He didn't look good in AAA. 4.72 ERA, 1.52 WHIP. And then he came up and started pitching really well right away. So he has 3 starts to open up his season, 3 quality starts. A guy who is not pitching well at St. Paul comes up, 3 quality starts. He goes 19 innings in 3 starts. He allows 5 earned runs combined. He strikes out 17, and he walks 2. I was like, what the hell? How could Zebby Matthews do this? It doesn't make sense. Then he gets annihilated by the Pirates. Bounces back at home versus the Royals. Then he gets annihilated at the Tigers. Then he bounces back at the Rangers. So maybe it's not just a home road situation for him. He has a nice start at home versus the Dodgers. He has pitched pretty well at home. We're leading up to the All-Star break. The start right before the All-Star break, he lost 4 runs over 6 innings at home versus the Angels. And then right after the All-Star break, he goes out on the road and he gets annihilated by the Cubs. 8 earned runs, 10 in total, but 8 earned over 3 innings on July 19th. He gets lit up and smoked by them. But look at the statistical profile here of him. I mean, you got a pitcher who is very good at home and gets beaten up on the road. He is predictable. When we get to the bullpens, Athletics bullpen 7.44 ERA, 1.78 WHIP has been just so bad. And they don't care. They just want their team to be hitting its peak when they get to Vegas. They don't care about this year at all. The Twins bullpen 4.80 ERA, 1.53 WHIP. They've been bad all year, but they've been quite a bit better over the last 30 days or so. Well, I should less than that because over 30 days, that's their number, 4.80 ERA, 1.53 WHIP. When we get to the sticks, Athletics versus righties, 235, 666 OPS. They're not hitting at all. Take them out of Sutter Health Park, and they look terrible. Even at Sutter Health Park, they're not hitting that hard. And then the Twins versus lefties, they don't hit lefties. 238, 678 OPS. And don't forget, this bullpen that's been pitching better is exhausted and just went 12 innings today. It's a very interesting game. This total has dropped from 10 to 9.5. That is a surprise to me. Why would it do that? It doesn't make sense that the total would drop. And not only did it drop, but it dropped in its juice to the under. When we get to the money line here, there's no movement. Sitting here at minus 138. Let's grab the price difference, see if there's any ability for the books to kind of show us there's a big advantage first five or not. We have the Twins at minus 139 full game. When we get to the first five, minus 142. So no difference there. A's are plus 126 full game. First five plus 121. We get to the first five total. The over 5 is heavily juiced at minus 125. The bullpens are as vulnerable as the starters. Now, these expected ERAs of these pitchers are pretty good, especially Lopez. So if Zebby Matthews bounces back and Jacob Lopez is better than his numbers indicate, well, this would just require a live over bet. And maybe that's how this should be handled. It's just a live over bet with an exhausted Twins bullpen and an Athletics bullpen that's terrible. D-Money, thank you for joining us, my man. Rod White says Athletics have lost each of their last 9 games following a road loss. This is so interesting. Let's take a look at the cash flow here. We have 83% of the tickets on the over, but 83% of tickets on the under, but 95% of cash on the over. And then you have 54% of the tickets on Zebby and 51% of cash. Well, look, I think the Twins should be faded here. I really think that we should bet against the Minnesota Twins because of their exhausted bullpen. But Zebby Matthews pitches so much better at home than he does on the road. The A's aren't hitting. I'm going to have to stay off at this point. Let the market do its thing. But I think the best way to play this is just to bet this live. I mean, why do I need to give what is my record is not as important as my money. The best bet in this is that the books are giving some respect to the expected ERAs of these two pitchers. And that's why it's gone from 10 to 9.5 and it's juiced to the under 9.5. I don't really want to go up against that line move. Mark Zasowski says Zebby at home seems like we can trust a bounce back. I know that Spooner believes that Zebby can bounce back here and expects him to bounce back. I'm going to need time with this spot. Let's move on. 8:15 p.m. Eastern with Cincinnati Reds 47-54, 25-26 on the road at St. Louis Cardinals 52-49, 26-26 at home. We are at Busch Stadium in St. Louis, Missouri. Let's take a look at the weather here. It's very, very run suppressing. Minus 15% runs, minus 25% homers, minus 17% doubles and triples, and plus 7% singles. Very, very run suppressing here. Rhett Lauder, 3-7, 5.75 ERA, 5.59 expected ERA, 1.64 WHIP. Look, 7th overall pick out of the 2023 draft out of Wake Forest. At some point, he's going to be a very good pitcher, I believe. That some point has never happened. It's not happened here. He missed all of 2025, a bunch of injuries, forearm, oblique strain, shoulder issues. So they sent him to the Arizona Fall League late last year just so he could get some innings. And he came up on March, he made the team right out of spring training. And he looked good. Those first 2 starts, I was like, this kid has it. A combined 11 innings. He lost 2 earned runs. He looks very strong. And then he starts getting hit. And he starts costing me money because I keep believing in him. And he has some okay starts. But even in the okay starts, the team loses. They were just losing all of the starts. He was costing me money. They put him on the IL May 13th due to right shoulder discomfort. And he was on the IL for a long time. His last start before that was May 7th. He didn't come back till June 7th. So full month, he comes back and he shoves in his first start. Shoves. Who did he shove against? These St. Louis Cardinals. Where? Here at Busch Stadium. Then he has another good start, June 13th. And I start getting cocky again. I start saying, look, Rhett Lauder is who I thought he was, a really good pitcher. And then he starts getting annihilated, makes me look like a fool, cost me money. 4 earned runs over 5 1/3 at the Yankees. I lost. I remember that start. He gave up like 3 earned runs, 4 earned runs in the first inning, and then he held it together. Then 5 2/3, 3 earned runs at home versus the Brewers. 6 earned runs over 4 2/3 at the Brewers. Faced Brewers in back-to-back starts. Then they were like, look, we've seen enough. Go to the bullpen. And that's what he did. He went to the bullpen. And lo and behold, 3 bullpen appearances. He goes 7 innings. He allows 1 earned run. And he looks like the real deal again. So he starts July 18th after the All-Star break. He gets the start. And what does he do? He allows 8 earned runs over 2 1/3. Now, this is where he pitched great. You see young pitchers who are vulnerable step up where they know they've stepped up in the past. It's not beyond the realm of possibilities that he could pitch well here. Going up against Dustin May, what a strange season Dustin May's had. 4.78 ERA, 1.32 WHIP, 3.90 expected ERA. He came out of the gates atrocious. 13 earned runs in his first 2 starts, combined 7 1/3 to start the year. And then he started pitching very, very well. Start after start after start. And then it hit a crescendo on June 15th. 3-0 win at home over the Padres. He goes to complete 9 innings, allows the 1 solitary hit, strikes out 9, walks 1. And then his next start, his back acts up in the middle of it. It was a 12-10 win at the Royals, but he went 2 innings, allowed 6 earned runs. Then they skipped the start in the rotation, didn't put him on the IL. And then he came back and got touched up again. 5 earned runs over 2/3 of an inning at the Braves. Then in that one, when he came back, he was pitching on 3 days rest because when he left, they said that he wasn't pulled because of pitching bad, even though he allowed 5 runs, 2/3 of an inning. He took a comebacker off the ankle, and that's why we pulled him. So he comes back, on 3 days rest, and he pitches really well. 4 2/3 at home versus the Brewers. He pitches really, really well. Look, Dustin May is a tricky pitcher to figure out right now. I think that he's just not healthy. I think that the back is a bit of a problem. He comes out of the break and he gets lit up again. He's a very streaky pitcher, and his team can't hit righties. Cards bullpen 3.88 ERA, 1.35 WHIP. Reds bullpen 4.70 ERA, 1.38 WHIP. The Reds bullpen looking bad again. And then when it comes to the sticks, look, the Cards are not hitting righties. 203, 576 OPS last 30, and the Reds are hitting them. Not well, but hitting them enough. 227, 707 OPS. Excellent work, Mel. Excellent work. We have some trends here. Rodswag says bet against Cincinnati on the money line against division opponents. Cincinnati's record during 2026, 6-22. Wow. They have been terrible. Well, honestly, I could see Rhett Lauder out pitching Dustin May here. Let's take a look at the line history here. We got Top Set looking at the first 3 numbers. Let's take a look at the full line history here. We've had 2 cents of movement towards Dustin May from -158 to -160. Extremely minimal. From a total perspective here, we have an 8.5 with no movement as well. Juice to the under at -120 in heavy run suppressing weather. Let's take a look at the price difference. First 5 in full game. See if that can lead us in a direction. Because I kind of like Rhett Lauder here. I hate saying that out loud. Anytime I say I want to bet Rhett Lauder, a little hand should pop out of the computer and slap me in the face. We have the Reds at +143 full game. First 5 +136. It's not much of an advantage. Cardinals are -159 full game. First 5 they're -161. And Tops at saying that Reds first 3 plus a half is -140. I think that's too expensive. I think it's too expensive. And I think the problem is I don't know what the hell Dustin May is going to do. But I think that the Cards are not hitting. They looked so bad today. They were lucky to get those 2 runs in the first inning. Lucky. 2 infield hits. Then the, what's his name, got the RBI. Nootbaar got the RBI, 2-run RBI. That if one of those infield hits was out, then that would have been a double play ball. But they were keeping the runner close to second. By doing that, they were out of position. You can't. I mean, if you hit your head against the wall and it hurts, you can't keep hitting your head against the wall. What a sick feeling it is wanting to bet Rhett Lauder. Look, I want to bet Rhett Lauder. I have no idea what the hell Dustin May is going to give you from start to start. Huh. Okay, I'm not going to do anything at this point. I'm going to have in my notes that I'm interested in the Reds first 5 plus a half. But, God. And Top Set says he thinks May gets touched up. He's just not. When Dustin May's shoving. Like you just know right away. Mark Sasowski says this game has too many variables. Maybe that is what I should listen to. That is the words of a wise man. Let's roll on to our last spot on the board. The last game on today's show, 10:15 p.m. Eastern, with the LA Angels 41-62, 17-34 on the road at the San Francisco Giants 42-60, 22-25 at home at Oracle Park in San Francisco, California. Let's get right into the weather. We have plus 1% runs. You rarely see that. It's because it's warmer than usual in Oracle. It's warmer than usual out west right now. Plus 1% runs, minus 15% homers, plus 9% doubles and triples, and plus 8% singles. We have Grayson Rodriguez. I know you guys know where I'm going. Like I cheer for Grayson Rodriguez. I mean, this was such a highly thought of young pitcher, and then we don't see him for almost 2 full years. Fights his way back. I mean, we didn't see him. We last saw him pitch in 2024 and gets himself back here. Grayson Rodriguez has an 8.23 ERA and a 7.43 expected ERA. 8.23 ERA, 1.77 WHIP. 27 strikeouts, 17 walks. Look, he's not being good. His start before the All-Star break was okay. 3 earned runs over 5 1/3 and a 4-3 win of the Twins. And his start after the All-Star break was horrible. 6 earned runs over 4 innings, 7-0 loss at home versus the Tigers. Now he goes to Oracle in the start that, he should pitch well in. Let's talk about Logan Webb. 3.87 ERA, 1.11 WHIP, 3.94 expected ERA. Did not have a good start to the season. It started when we were at Pub 5 in San Antonio at Southtown 101. Had that terrible first start against the Yankees. My season got off to a bad start there. I was on the Giants first 5+ a half. And it was terrible. And he just didn't look good. Then he has to start May 5th. He gets destroyed at home by the Padres, and they put him on the shelf. Right knee bursitis. So he's on the shelf with a non-arm related injury, and that works for him. It works for a lot of these pitchers that we've noticed that when they come off the IL with a non-arm related injury, they pitch really well. And he did that. He started shoving. His first start, he only went 4 1/3. It was in the thin air, Colorado. He allowed 1 earned run. Second start, 7 innings, no earned runs at the Brewers. You know how hard it is to pitch against that team. Then June 8th, 8 innings, 1 earned run at home versus the Nationals. Then no earned runs over 8 innings at home versus the Cubs. Then 2 earned runs over 8 innings and a loss at the Marlins. Then no earned runs over 7 innings at home versus the Braves. At that point, we're like, this guy's a beast. He goes to Colorado. We know that he can pitch well in Colorado, and he gets destroyed. 7 earned runs over 3 innings, 15-3 loss. So I think he's going to bounce back. He's a home start versus the Jays. I remember, as you guys know, I got the LASIK eye surgery. It was my last meeting before LASIK eye surgery. And I went in, and while I was meeting with them, the Jays, Yokomoto hits a grand slam, and the Jays are up 5-0 first inning. Now, I stopped the meeting, and I live bet the under, and I cashed it very easily. I actually didn't catch it that easily. It was an 11.5, and it was a 10-0 final score. But it looked like I was going to catch it very easily because Webb didn't allow another run. He pitched really well. He made it through full 7 innings, and then the bullpen blew up, and I almost lost the 11.5, but I still got it. Then he comes back after the All-Star break, so he gets 10 days off. He gets the break that we think will help him, and he has a quality start at the Mariners. But we know what it's like in Seattle. Now, it wasn't that run-suppressing weather because it's warmer in Seattle this last little while, but still, 3 earned runs over 6 2/3 is just an okay start in Seattle. Shout out to Nunya Business in the house. So I think he's going to pitch really well here, but this line has moved very quickly towards the Angels. So let's talk about it here. Bullpen-wise, the Giants' bullpen's been terrible. 5.03 ERA, 1.31 WHIP. This Angels' bullpen's been very good. 3.56 ERA, 1.06 WHIP. The Angels' bullpen's getting better and better and better. Now they're going to trade all their pieces at the deadline. At least they should. Then when it comes to the sticks, the Angels can't hit righties and aren't hitting righties and don't have power against righties. 231, 628 OPS over the last 30 days. The Giants are hitting harder over the last 30 days, but you can tell by the statistical profile that they've stopped hitting. Now they're 240, 734 OPS over the last 30 days, but look what they've done over the last 5 games. Poor numbers. Let's get into the line history for our last spot on the board. We've had a 5-cent move to the under, -110 to -115. And then on the money line, we're going to see this big move towards Rodriguez, and the Angels. The Angels open up at plus 171. They're now plus 149. What do you do with that information? Do you say, well, that means Webb is vulnerable? Well, it's moved 5 cents to the under. So it must mean that Grayson Rodriguez is capable of having a good start. Can you trust Grayson with his numbers? Can you? I don't know if you can. Let's take a look at the price difference. We know that there's been this huge move towards the Angels. So the Angels are plus 146 full game at Penny. First 5 plus 145. So it's not a first 5 advantage. It's a full game advantage. It's a bullpen, must be a bullpen advantage. I mean, what the hell? Or people believe that the numbers over the last 5 days from the Giants are completely legitimate. Let's get to the cash flow. Cash flow here for our final spot on the board. 73% of the tickets and 88% of cash is on the San Francisco Giants and Logan Webb. And we've had this huge move against them. Now, this huge move is mostly offshore. I mean, if you look at like DraftKings have moved this from minus 153 to minus 172 for the Giants. The legal public books are telling you a completely different story. They've moved FanDuel's moved the Giants from minus 172 to minus 180. It's so funny that the legal books would tell you a completely different story than the offshores. It's unbelievable. Before we put a bow on the proceedings, let's look at what they have first 5 for the total here. It's a 4.5 heavily juiced to the under. Let's take a look at the first 3 here. This first 3 is an 8. It's the full game is an 8 minus 115 to the under. So the first 3 should be at a minimum minus 125 to the under, but it should be more than that if they believe in it. So let's see this first 3. Oh shit, I'm not in innings. The first 3 is minus 135 to the under. It means that they think Rodriguez is going to pitch well here. And why would they think that? Wow. They think he's going to pitch well here. And if he pitches well, the first 3 under will cash. And the first 5 under will cash. But do you have the faith or the balls to believe in Grayson Rodriguez? I may. I might. All right. There we go. And I think I can get there. I think I can get there tonight. I think the books have tipped their hand with that minus 135 to the under 2.5. Oh, yuck. All right. Let's review action here today. Free bands play day is the Phillies minus 121. I'm very interested in the Rockies first 3 plus a half at minus 115. If Sugano can get me 9 outs. And the Rockies, look, Johan's a beast. So if I like Sugano to do that, that might mean that I have some interest in an early under. But I didn't write that down. So it must not correlate with action, or at least with the market. Then we have here, dog of the day from Rod Zawacki is the Cubs. Dog of the day from Rod Zawacki is the Chicago Cubs. I've doubled down on the Pirates. First 5 in full game. Dangerous territory. Rod's hit 6 straight dogs of the day, but I'm on the other side with the Pirates. First 5 full game. Those are the only bets I've already made. Then looking down at the action, it's the over 9 in Arizona, Washington. Again, look, I think it's out of my price range, and I don't want the 9.5. And if it moves a full run, I've just got to let it go, and I think I have to let it go here. Braves, Orioles, no action. Then here I want to get involved in Cleveland, Tampa. Is that the first 3 under and a Tampa full game? I think that's where I'm going to end up. First 3 under in Tampa full game. Let's get Paco, it's great to have you back in business. 10 a.m. is our morning show. 10 a.m. is the morning show. 10 p.m. is the night show. I go Monday to Friday at 10 a.m. and Monday to Thursday at 10 p.m. And we're going to love having you back, Paco. It's great to see you, man. So then the 10-star play today from Rod Zawacki is the Dodgers run line. And it correlates with Topset's best play on the board. Dodgers minus 1.5 plus 110. And he's also on the Reds first 3 plus 125. I love seeing that. Eloy, I've copied and pasted that. Then the over 9 in Padres Marlins. The Blue Jays first 5. I'm going to save. I'm not going to move on the unders. I want to see what happens with the market. The first 3 over and the first 5 over in Astros White Sox. The over 7.5 in Mariners Rangers. I'm shocked to see all these overs. It's not my style. And then the Reds first 5 plus a half. I think that, hearing top sets interest has me very interested. Mark Stasowski has moves on Houston first 5 over 4.5 and the full game over 8.5. Let's get that copied and pasted as well. And then the unders in LA Angels, San Francisco Giants, which will not be a fun way to close the Friday night. That is our show, the nightly bag right here on Pub Sports Radio. We lay down the foundation for Friday's success. Thank you guys so much for rocking with me. It means the world. Abadi, thank you for running with us. Rod Zawacki, Mark Stasowski, Paco Healy back in business. Top set, none ya business. Thank you guys. Timmy Two Shoes. Great to have all of you guys. Rod Zawacki, great hearing all of the angles. Thank you for sharing that with all of us. Mel in Denver, D Money, Sharpie rolling with us, giving us great stuff. I love it. Nasty Nate, T-Mac. Thank you guys so much. Now let's go get this money. Let's just keep putting in the work. This nightly show is about the work, and then the morning show is about attacking. We lay down the foundation here for the following day's success. Thank you so much for supporting the show. Have a great rest of your evening, and let's get this shmoney. Leche. Hey, los bookmakers.
It's easier to sleep in the black when you're losing your ass and feeling so. You know what to do. Tune in to Pub Sports Radio. Easier to sleep in the black. It's easier to sleep in the black. It's a roller coaster ride. You're gonna catch a bad beat. No problem, keep your head up and just bet the spreadsheet. It's easier to sleep in the black. It's easier to sleep in the black. All thanks to Jeff Slaughter, these shows have our backs. POD's always rolling, especially the stats. Easier to sleep in the black. It's easier to sleep in the black. We got Jimmy, Jose, Debbie and the fam, Dutch wine time, Spooner and OG Wham. So hit the like button, don't say that you can't. If you know what's best, just put your money on tape.